Okay, let's get started. Thanks for joining us today. We have Dario here. He's the Vice President of Water Operations Services for Fluence. He has over 15 years of experience in the water industry, and he's going to share with us today about services for hotels and resorts. So, Dario, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you everyone for being here. Today, I want to talk briefly about water management services for hotel and resorts. Water management services is also known as BOO, Build, Operate, Own, or BOTs, Build, Operate, Transfer Services of water. But before we get there, let me show you briefly of who we are. Fluence, we're an international company, headquarters in the United States. We are in the Australian Stock Exchange. We've got several facilities where we built our equipment depending on the equipment that we're providing to the market. We got building facilities in the US, Argentina, Brazil, Italy, Dubai, Israel, and also in China. And as you can see on the map, we cover some countries in Europe, some countries in Asia, basically all Americas. We got it pretty much covered with reps or direct sales. We have sold over 350 units of our spiral systems, which I will show later, and about 130 units of desalination plants containerized, which I will show later as well. Well, we all know that hotels and resorts use a lot of water. It's mainly because hotels and resorts, besides having guests in the rooms, they got restaurants, they got pools, they got services, cleaning. So that uses a lot of water. We're looking at an average of about 1,000 liters per person per day, per room per day. That's a lot of water. And we all know that water is becoming scarce nowadays. 20 years ago, we started talking about water. Now we talk about water every day. So it's a reality. Water has become an issue. Every day, less and less water is available for drinking. So got to do something about that. Treating water is the way of the future and the present. So several ways we can go to tackle the water problem is obviously using less water, which is unlikely. And the other one is treating water to drinkable standards. Talk about desalination a little bit here. And obviously reuse water. Again, the concept of water reuse 10 years ago wasn't really widespread. Now everybody's looking into that for obvious reasons. So desalination has become pretty much, it's becoming a standard for getting potable water. It's become cheaper through the days, through the years. 15 years ago, when I started desalinating in my career, I've seen a major leap in efficiencies and costs. There's a lot of competition in desalinating water. The advantage of it is that we can condition the water to whatever standards we want it to be, whether we want it to be drinkable, potable, or use it for processes such as boilers or cooling towers. It will give us the independence of controlling our own source of water, and we can put it anywhere we have access to salt water, whether it's open sea or brackish water from wells. So the concept of reuse is simple. Let's take the water that we already use in showers, toilets, basins, laundries, storm waters from roof. We treat it. We remove all the constituents we don't want them on them through different processes. And then we can use that water, likely not for drinking, but obviously for irrigation. We can use it for cooling towers. And for flushing toilets, it's become really popular. Just an example, in Colombia, South America, they already passed a law that all new buildings have to have a separate set of pipes for flushing toilets, and the water to put in those pipes have to come from reuse. So this, I think this is going to become a standard eventually worldwide. Very interesting. So the products that we have to go ahead and reuse water and treat water are basically two. Starting on the left, on the right, desalination. For that, we have our Nitro Box line of products. That is basically desalination units or brackish water treatment units, or even surface water treatment units that we can prefabricate inside 40-foot containers. The maximum capacity depends on the salinity of the water. For larger plants, we have our NitroFlex line of products, which is basically building blocks. We put together a plant, and we just put, depending on the size, we can add or remove different blocks to get to the desired capacity. The advantage of the prefabricated systems is that we can deploy them very quickly. We can install one of these plants on site and get it started within 3-4 days. We actually beat a record of starting one of these plants in 1 day in the island of Roatan in Honduras 2 weeks ago. So it's in that sense, it's a very, very quick deployment. And for the treatment of wastewater, we have two different type of products. One is the Aspiral, which is prefabricated plants inside 40-foot containers. The advantage of Aspiral is that we can actually remove all nutrients in the water. I'll talk about that a little bit. Maybe we can get in more details later on if you want. And the other product that we have is Subre. Subre is based on our MABR technology. MABR stands for membrane aeration bioreactor. What Subre does is that we can increase the capacity of the actual existing standard plants, and also remove nutrients by simply sinking the modules into an anoxic zone of an existing plant. This has become very popular in Mexico. For example, they passed a new law in 2021 that requires nutrients removal. So all existing wastewater treatment plants in Mexico, in order to get up to standards, are looking into Subre as a solution, because they don't have to build anything, basically. They just sink the modules in the anoxic zones. I don't want to get too technical. If you want to get technical, we can have a separate conversation about that. So our plants, because they come inside containers prefabricated, especially for resorts and hotels, it is interesting that we can actually mimic the natures around it. We can disguise the plants, we can paint them, so it doesn't look like it's just a container sitting somewhere in the property, but we can blend them. And another advantage of our equipment is that it's odorless and it has no noise whatsoever, and it's very compact. Again, MABR, which stands for membrane aeration bioreactor, is a technology that we developed about 10-15 years ago, and it allows us to remove nutrients from the water, from the wastewater, to comply with the most stringent standards, such as the California Title 22 water for irrigation. As you can see on this table, this is a standard, pretty much standard municipal influent of water, and we can take them to the levels that you see on the column named effluent. This is very important because nutrients is a problem. The reason why we're seeing so much sargassum on the beaches around the Caribbean is due to nutrients. So I believe nutrients is going to become a standard eventually all throughout the Caribbean, for example, to remove from wastewater. We're seeing new legislations being passed in Jamaica to regulate nitrogen, for example, and also in Mexico recently. So the concept is, let's take water from the sea or a source that is not potable. We'll treat it using our needle box systems. We'll provide the water for your operations, say hotel, residential, resorts, hospitals. And then we get the wastewater. We'll treat it on our spiral systems, and we'll create water suitable for irrigation or other sources, say cleaning, filling boilers or things like that. So that's pretty much the concept. What is water management services? What we do here is we provide a solution for water treatment to our clients under a Bill Own Operate or BOO or BOT program. Client tells us what water they want to treat, what is the standard of that water, to what standard they want to take the water to, and what volume of water they want to treat on a daily basis. So we come in with a program, and we operate and maintain the plants for them, and we provide all the CapEx related to the design, construction, and installation of the equipment. So in essence, it's free for the client in terms of CapEx and OpEx, and we only charge them by the cubic meter. On the next slide, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that. Another interesting program that we have is our buyback program. For clients that have equipment, say desalination or wastewater treatment plants that are coming to the end of the usable life, we can buy from them, upgrade them, and then convert it into our Bill Own Operate or water management service. So the idea is that the client will not need to invest any capital. We'll do that. We make a long-term investment, meaning that we anticipate signing at least a 10-year contract, take or pay with our client. We do it fast. We're putting the money, so we need to install this plan as soon as possible to start invoicing and collecting, obviously. And we guarantee that we're going to comply with local regulations. Here's a couple of case studies that I came across, and why reuse is interesting. In Barbados, for example, this particular hotel was buying water for irrigation, but then they were paying for water disposal to the network. And by doing that, they were spending about $300,000 a year. It was in Barbados, it's very expensive to dispose of water into the network. It's $1.55 per cubic meter. And buying the water for irrigation at $2.33, it makes no sense. So our proposal was, okay, give me all your water that you use, that you dispose of on a daily basis. We'll treat it for you. But we'll give it back to you at $2.18, and you can use it for irrigation. In that way, they saved about 26% on their water bill. Another case study is the St. Regis in Bermuda. This is a bit more complicated, but I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. They had a desalination plant that they were using for irrigation of a golf course, but that makes no sense. And then they were buying water from the network for the daily operations, and they were paying even $6 for disposing of the wastewater. So we shuffled the entire operation, arranged it, introduced a spiral here for irrigation. We were treating 96 cubic meters a day for 220 days. And we were giving that water back to the hotel for irrigation. So they now use the desalination plant for their own consumption. In a way, they ended up saving about $160,000 a year. This is a very interesting way to rethink and re-engineer the entire water usage in a hotel. Couple case studies. We currently have a Bill Own Operate plant in Bimini, the Bahamas. It's an island. Bimini is located off the coast of Florida, about 30 minutes flight. We provide the water to the entire island and to the hotel that is currently there is the Hilton Hotel, and also to the Rabs World's Resort. Our capacity is 4,000 cubic meters a day. We started with 3,000 and recently expanded to 4,000. There's more demand in the island. And as you can see, this is a picture of the plant. We're located next to the sea. We got a beach well, and we dispose of the brine on a deep well, and we just supply water from these two tanks that you can see here on the render. You're welcome to come and visit this plant anytime you want. Another example is this is for wastewater treatment. This is for Couples Resorts in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. It's a 10-year BOO contract. We install a 100 cubic meter a day spiral unit to treat all the wastewater. They're going to use it for irrigation. And we are currently looking into expanding this to one more unit towards the end of this year. So these are some of the examples of our BOO or water management services that we can offer to our clients. So in essence, the message is we have the technology and we have the programs suitable that we can tailor to your needs in order to treat and reuse water for your operations. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have at this point. And if you want to talk a little bit more in depth or technically about any other products, feel free to shoot me an email and we'll establish the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Dario. At this point, we can open it up for questions. If you want to just put your question in the chat and we can get through as many questions are needed. We have a lot of extra time. All right, Dario, I have a question that was sent to me that says, what is the process for getting like a contract? Like, where does somebody start?
Yes, thank you. The first step is to, as I mentioned before, is to understand what is the water quality that you currently have, or other parameters of that quality of that water, and where you want to take it. Whether it is potable water, say that your well is getting saltier and you need to reduce the amount of conductivity or suspended dissolved solids. It's salty water. It's happened to us and in a resort in Roatan. So the client gives us a water analysis. We design our equipment and we get to the quality of water that they want. That's number one. Number two, we need to know the volume of water they require to treat. And based on that, we can elaborate a program and present to the client a term sheet that basically lays out all the details of the negotiation and including price and contract terms. It's a process that will take approximately 2 weeks. We can present a proposal.
Okay. I have another typical power requirements for this.
Excuse me?
Someone is asking what the typical power requirements are.
Oh, okay. Yes. For the treatment of wastewater using a spiral, I think we are around 1.6 kilowatt hour per cubic meter. And to treat seawater, we are around 3 kilowatt hour per cubic meter. The amount of energy needed to treat seawater is the highest. If you're treating brackish water, it will be less than that. And as salinity goes down, the water, the consumption, the energy consumption goes down.
Great. Someone is asking who is responsible for the maintenance and does Fluence offer a maintenance training with the package?
Yes, as part of the water management services, we are responsible for the CapEx and the OpEx. We take care of all the operations and maintenance of the plant. And we guarantee that we will comply with local standards, meaning that the quality of the water that we are going to produce or that we're going to treat and dispose, it complies with the local norms. So we take care of all the maintenance. We take care of spare parts. We take care of chemicals. We take care of personnel, consumables, provisions, everything. The client doesn't have to do anything but relax.
And Dario, someone is asking, how long does it take to deploy?
Typically, after signing the term sheet and how quick we can move towards a contract, usually takes, say, 3-4 weeks to start the contract. And from the contract start for desalination plants, we are looking at around 20 weeks to 24 weeks. Wastewater is a little bit longer, around 24 weeks for wastewater, 24 to 30 weeks for wastewater.
Okay, thank you. We've got another question here. What are the challenges you have encountered to close the contracts with the clients, and how long is the typical decision process?
Yes, we provide a term sheet that is our standard term sheet. I have seen that it takes about 2 weeks to agree to the terms of the term sheet. Term sheet is easy. Then the contract negotiations, it typically takes about 4-6 weeks. It all depends on the amount of work that each side has. You know, we get lawyers involved, so you know it's a process. But you know, typically between 4 to 6 weeks, we can sign a contract after signing the term sheet.
Okay, we have another question. Can you, does Fluence supply the AC generators?
We don't supply electric generators, but we will tell you what size it will be needed.
And then what residuals are generated by nitrogen and the NH4 removal, and what is done with the residuals?
The nitrogen becomes a gas and basically goes out to the atmosphere. Our systems produce on average between 1 and 2% of sludge, and that is the material that you need to remove and dispose of in the landfill.
Okay, does the water cost savings outweigh the energy costs with these two case studies?
Yes. The numbers that you can see here, the prices that we are charging per cubic meter, those prices include electricity costs. But again, the most expensive water is the water that we don't have. So in reality, the cost of desalinating water is pretty much the same in terms of energy and chemicals. Depending on the country, of course, there are some tariffs, there are some taxes. Chemicals may be a little bit more expensive than other. For example, in the Bahamas, importation of chemicals has a tariff of 45%. So that obviously affects the price or the cost of your cubic meter. But in essence, when we provide a cost, we usually include the electricity cost to it, unless the client wants to pick it up themselves, in which case, obviously, our price gets lower. It all depends. We can work either way.
Here, what are the minimum and maximum capacities for the smart package wastewater treatment plants? And how do you assist in passing the samples? And do they treat the softener water as well?
For the wastewater treatment plants, we have different sizes. We have as small as the spiral micro, which treats up to 5 cubic meters a day. And then we go up in size. In one single container, 40-foot container, we can treat, it's a combination of things. we can have a full treatment inside a 40-foot container by which we can produce up to 100 cubic meters a day. But then we have some other configurations where we can treat up to 300 cubic meters a day. And if you need more, we just add more modules. That is in wastewater. And what was the questions about desalination, Jessica?
It's at, let's see. They asked for the sizing and then how you assist in passing samples. And do they treat, it says, and do they treat the softener water as well combined?
The softened water. I don't quite understand the question.
Maximum capacity.
Yeah, if you can please elaborate on.
Yeah. Oh, the residue from the softener.
Softener meaning the
Is that
desalination
treated?
plant? You mean the brine that comes out of the desalination plant? Is that what you mean?
I'll let him clarify. Yes.
Yeah, the brine from the
Yes.
desalination plant.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
that's one of my favorite topics because there's always a misconception about the brine coming out of the desalination plant, and people believe that you contaminate the environment with it, but it's not true. All you're doing is getting back into the sea in water that has a higher content of salt. And I have been involved in many projects in Latin America where there has been a lot of opposition from the population, from the inhabitants of the town, saying that we're going to contaminate the water, and we have proven that it is not correct. One of the things that we need to take care of is obviously do it right, and for that, on the brine pipe that goes out to the sea, we got to make sure that we put diffusers towards the end of it in a way that the brine doesn't come out from one single point at the end of the pipe, but little by little throughout the diffusers. And by doing that, we have been able to test that within 2 meters of the contact point, the salinity of the water is the same as the sea. So it gets completely dissolved within 2 meters radius, but you have to use diffusers for that. That is in the case of open sea. Now, in other places where we have pearls underground, like Bahamas, what we do is we drill deep wells and we put it back into the ground, and no problem. That's the way we do it.
All right, let me see if I have any other questions here. I'm going between a chat and a Q&A. What is the volume of the ocean solution of RO permeate? Oh,
Yeah, I think I understand.
if RO permeate is not an issue.
Yeah, I think that talking about recovery, I assume. The usual recovery of an RO system is between 35, 40, 45%. That means that 100 cubic meters of water that you get from the sea, you obtain 40 cubic meters of fresh water and 60 cubic meters of brine. So that's a recovery factor. That's typical for desalination plants, seawater. The less the salinity, the higher the recovery. So we can get up to 90% recovery if the water is not that salty. And another thing I want to say about brine, and like I said, it's one of my favorite topics. Everybody worries about brine being disposed in the sea because it's going to oversalt the water, but nobody worries about wastewater treatment plants putting fresh water into the sea that is going to reduce the salinity of the sea. So, it's something that that paradigm is going to get broken at some point pretty soon, I think. Because at the end, we as humanity, we don't have any other option but desalinate. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case.
All right, let's see. I think that's all I have for questions coming in. So let me just check here. Oh, one other one. How do your systems perform in inclement weather like upstate New York in like freezing temperatures?
Wastewater, we are actually testing on it, and we can actually we can have this conversation offline. Of course, the lower the temperature, the lower the performance, or say for wastewater especially. The bacteria don't work really well in cold weathers. We're testing that in a plant that I believe we have in Iowa right now. And for desalination, same thing. The lower the temperature, the more energy you will need to desalinate. That's the fact.
All right, I think that's all I have in here. I think we've gotten through everything.
Yes, just make sure that everybody has our contact. I'll put it on the screen again, and please send us an email with any more questions that you may have, especially more technical, that we can take offline. And of course, if any of you is interested in talking about water management services, I am your point of contact, and I'm ready to establish a conversation anytime you want. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dario.
Thank you.